We're gonna start with some lower body stuff. We're gonna do some quad and hamstring, and then we're gonna do some pushing and pulling. I think that'll be good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, I'm ready to smash it. I'm ready to smash it. Yeah.
Point of this is going to be, John is really going to be taking the lead on the training itself. I'm having my deload, so we're just going to try to push him as much as you can, but it's to, again, show that you don't need a tremendous amount of volume. You just need to make sure that your intensity is there, proximity to failure, and John really knows how to push it. He has incredible technique, so it's going to be really cool. So we did make a few adjustments. We took off the plates as we're looking at the range of motion. He's going to be fine without them. The tempo is going to be 3 on the way down, 2 at the bottom, and then he can come up as quickly as he'd like. He's actually going to deliberately try to come up explosively, and then he can just take a mild break at the top if you like, or go right into the next one. That's going to be a preference thing. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, bang.
Talk about the shoulders.
Oh yeah, that's right. So in the belt squat, the tendency is going to be to raise your hips before your shoulders, like he's demonstrating a bad one. But you want to pay attention and try to raise the shoulders first. So a helpful cue sometimes is actually looking up a little bit and trying to think, I'm gonna raise my chest first. That way we're keeping this on the quads. And failure for this kind of movement is going to be the moment that he can't keep this technique. Sure, maybe he gets to a point where he can continue to do more reps, but it has to start raising his glutes more, then that's the end there. I think right now we're going to get maybe 3 more. Let's see, John. John can really dig. 1, 2, nice. Take a breather, maybe go 2 more.
Oh yeah.
Nice. That was beautiful. All right, John, let's see another set.
All right, just gotta make it a little bit of an adjustment.
That's another thing you might have to deal with is this belt. Some people need it a little lower, a little higher, and you can find some discomfort in the hips sometimes. This is why these little belt covers are really nice. They're like cushiony instead of just having the raw canvas dig into you. But those are looking really good. Yeah, the chest is up. Great.
Oh, wow.
Let's go, keep pushing it.
Oh.
Nice. Well, let's do 2 more. Let's do 2 more. Good. Cover a little bit and you got this one. Nice. Looked actually more solid than the previous one.
Yeah, that was. All right, 3rd set.
3rd set. Maybe we'll do something extra spicy on the last little bit. We'll keep John guessing, so you just need to go and keep pushing. That's another thing about your sets. You don't want to anticipate future sets. Just leave everything you've got in this set. Be present, be in the moment.
I would even say 1 rep at a time too.
Yeah.
Some people they just start trying to get the work over with instead of focusing on each individual rep.
There you go. All we have is the rep we're in. This depth is looking good. Did you see that, guys? Look, he's at least going down where the crease of his hip is below his knee. And a lot of times, he's even getting his hamstring to touch his calf. And his chest is up.
All right.
Let's go again. You got it.
Gotta get better. That was I was swimming too much.
Let's go. Can you go? 1, 2, 3, go. Oh no, we've lost it. I can't take it up because of the, we're gonna do this.
All right, try it now. Try it now.
Okay, let me get the other one.
Okay.
All right, go. So we just finished the belt squat, finished training the quads, and to find out if we should do more quad training or not, we're just gonna ask some like basic questions on, first of all, how was the pain? Is this a good movement for you? John has some previous injuries, so he doesn't have to take that into consideration, but we have like no pain, a little bit of pain, like a noticeable amount of pain, and there's very painful. Let's just say that those are the 4 categories. Where do you feel like you lied in that movement?
Well, another thing that we need to think about too is where the pain is coming from. So if it's a joint pain, more often than not, I would say choose a different exercise. If you have to stop an exercise because your joints hurt so much that you can't do another rep, you probably need to choose a different exercise.
Yeah.
That is not something I am experiencing. There is pain from the muscles that I'm absolutely feeling from that one because I'm digging really hard.
Great, so then pain is almost none, maybe nominal, because you're still always working around these specific injuries.
You want me to give you a number, don't you?
No, I just want like basically to be, for people to understand, it's gonna be on the nominal side of things, or where I would say you have green levels where you're completely operating pain-free. You have yellows where you can notice some aches and pains, but you can kind of dip into that category every once in a while, like test the waters. And you have something that's like red, like where you absolutely know, like I should not be going there with my levels of pain.
Right.
And I would say you probably mostly green, and every once in a while you're touching yellows, probably.
Absolutely agree, yep.
All right, cool. So if you're in there, that's fine. That means the movement's a good choice for you, or a reasonable one. Then you have the amount of pump that you were feeling doing the quad workout.
Yeah.
You know, we have like same kind of categories, like no pump, a little bit of pump, like noticeable pump, and then like so much pump. Like it's like the limit.
So much pump, I would call it green and not red. It was so awesome.
Okay.
So red was no pump. Yellow's good pump. Green is like a hell yeah. It's a good pump.
So it's hell yeah pump. All right,
That was a pretty good pump. I'm ready for another set though. I kind of feel like I want
so then
one.
that's the kind of last question you should be asking yourself, is about like the overall workload. Like, was that the limit of the workload, or could you do more work? Is kind of the question overall.
Sure.
So it sounds like you did a nice amount, but maybe if we're using this, red, yellow, green analogy, maybe you were in more of a like yellow area if you really wanted to push it and go all the way to red. Are we
we're talking about pump? I thought the pump was green.
I think we should probably just rephrase it to be like everything, green being the light area, yellow being pushing it, and then red being the complete boundary of what you're capable of.
That sounds good.
You're probably in like yellow.
I'm in the yellow.
In the yellow, which is a good place on average to be. Like, you don't always have to push your work capacity to its complete limit. Usually if you're doing that means in the following weeks you're gonna have to be pulling back. So I'm content with that unless you really want to do another quad movement.
I want to do just one more set on this one.
All right, so that's good. That's an easy way to do it. So let's just add one more set.
I love it.
All right, last one. We're doing a bonus set because John is feeling really fresh. He still feels like he can push his limits a little bit on the pump. He has more work capacity. And I think going forward, we had a good idea of just always across the board talking about green, yellow, red as the thresholds of where you should be. So if we're talking about the pump, green is like not a lot. He's just gonna have to do, without breaks, go another 10. Here, I know this is gonna be kind of sucks because this is the last one, but I'm gonna push your hips in forward so you have to come up. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3.
More.
Nice. All right, so we're gonna do some good mornings. Go ahead, sit up.
All right,
and,
sheesh.
And we want to replicate reps on the good mornings. I personally, I don't know, maybe John will like to make that adjustment, but I like a little lower bar squat on the good mornings. But up to him, how he likes it. And we're gonna try to replicate the reps, so we bottom them out right here. That way we're always getting the same response, and we're not just slightly decreasing ranges of motion just to do more sets. Yeah, I figured we wanna lower that as well. Let me get it for you. Let's see. Let's try this one. 1, 2, and then, oh yeah. Do you want like a tiny bit in between?
I think I'm pretty good here. If I need to drop knees or bend knees to
Let me see.
get out of it, I can. So if I'm here and I'm not feeling it, I can just do that.
Yeah, no, but I want to see where we're going.
You want to see the reps, gotcha.
Like where do you feel is the most amount of stretch you can go before breaking position? That does look really good. All right, so he's focusing on just a slight knee bend and pushing the glutes and hips as far back as he can. That's also another good cue, is like kind of keeping knees back, hips back, everything back, and then this staying as flat as possible. This is another reason why like a lower bar squat is a little better, just because that way you have more of the weight over the center of mass versus all the way over your shoulders. But it is not wrong to feel this in your erectors as well, because this is like a secondary muscle that's being trained at the same time. Your back is obviously going to be used here. But the primary movement here is going to be hamstrings running all the way up into the glutes.
All right. All right. I think I'm gonna stay right there for now.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'll go up on the next set. Yeah, I just added 20 pounds. I just want to emphasize the importance of a hip drive and what hip drive actually is. The difference between just coming up or driving those hips forward it's a huge difference.
What he's trying to say is that we don't want to just focus on thinking about levering your back. You want to think about driving your heels backwards. That way you're achieving the same kind of extension. So if we looked at it this way, so let's look at it this way. If my foot is out in front of me, I could start to lean back to alleviate that hinge, or I could also drive my heel back to neutral and that would alleviate the hinge. Even though here we are clearly levering your back, but it is good to visualize that you are also pulling your heels back to create that right angle again and driving your hips forwards.
That hip drive transfers over to other movements like RDLs or even power movements where we're trying to move weight quickly, like a clean or a jerk. Even at the top of a deadlift or at the top of a squat, you can use hip drive to add just a little bit more force and power to that movement. All right, lower on the back. Okay, got it.
And I also think you might enjoy with this little critique of looking up out of it, so you're trying to accentuate how much arc in your chest you have. Should put a little more stress onto your hamstrings and a little less onto your back. Just slow it down a tiny bit more there. We go like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Yeah. 2, 3, 1, 2. Nice. 1, 2. Good. Take your time. And I think the good call here on where to call failure is the moment you start to feel more of a stress on your back than your hamstrings. That's where the line is for failure. Not that you can't really perform another movement. I say the same thing for back squats also. You know, a lot of times if you're doing a free bar back squat, not on a Smith machine, your lower back will start to fatigue before your quads, and then you start shifting more and more of that stress there. So that's usually your sign where you need to cut it.
All right, I put another 20 pounds on the bar this time. Yeah. Well,
He
this
wants
is
you to know how strong he is.
Well, here's the other thing too. It's like I want people to know, like, be cautionary when you're. I've never done this Smith machine good morning. I've done plenty of other good mornings and stiff-legged deadlifts and RDLs and all kinds of things like that, hinging movements. So I just want to make sure to understand the weight that I'm dealing with and the intensity that follows. So.
Definitely very intelligent thing to do. There's like, if you've not done something, do it. Increase the intensity over time. You have plenty of time. If it's not this session, next session. Nothing will set you back more than an injury will. Let's get that same tempo. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. 2, 3, 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000. Nice. Good hip drive. Good. Looking like maybe 2 more for me, but if you feel like you have more, you can definitely go beyond that. All depends how your hamstrings are feeling.
Yeah,
that looks right.
Awesome.
Okay, we finished 3 sets of hamstrings, and we're gonna do the same little test. We're just gonna talk about green, yellow, and red as far as pain goes. So green is no pain, and like red is some pain, like lots of pain. Where do you feel like you lied there in those hamstrings?
No pain at all.
No pain at all. Great.
Yeah.
So we're in green. It means it's a great movement for you. Now let's just talk about the actual hamstrings. Like, what are we trying to train? How was the pump? Like, is it no? If we're gonna go green is no pump and red is like, wow, there's so much pump I could barely handle it. Where did we lie in those colors?
So I think we're just touching on. So we're a little bit of the, I would say, orange, like a reddish orange.
Great. So we're you definitely want to be in yellow at a minimum, and then approaching red.
That's what I say we were. Yeah.
Okay,
so I mean,
cool.
I absolutely could have done more reps and found failure in the good morning. That's not something I'm super comfortable with.
For sure, but if we're just looking at the pump in your hamstrings right now, like overall, over all of those sets, where do you feel like the pump is?
The pump is actually between here and here. So I would say like mid-thoracic all the way down to, it covers erectors, glutes, and hamstrings almost equally for me.
Yeah, but the volume of that pump, where do you feel like that volume of the pump lies?
It's definitely in the hamstring, on the upper portion of the hamstring, closer to the glute.
Okay.
So it would be in the origin of the hamstring.
But let me maybe rephrase that.
Sure.
Let's imagine you did a set of biceps, or you did a bunch of sets of biceps. That feeling of complete engorgement of the muscle, like the red would be complete cap of engorgement, where like yellow is like, oh, it was a good pump, but I maybe have a little more I could get to a maximum amount of pump. Where did you get there on those hamstrings?
Yeah, I would say the same thing. So it's a little bit of a dark orange.
Okay, good. That's great. Like those are excellent things. And then if we looked at the total work capacity, like how much more do you feel like you could have gotten in that in that green to red range we're talking about?
You mean how many more sets or something like that?
Exactly. Like how many more sets do you think you could have gone through if you needed to, or this was a great amount? Like you're again in that yellow to red area.
I think this is a great amount. If I could do one more, and my recovery would be okay too. So that would be another factor that I would I think is a consideration.
So if you were to do that extra, it would probably put you into red.
Agreed.
Okay, then I think that what we just did right now was like the perfect place to end things. And hopefully by like asking these questions to John, you can start thinking about these things for yourself in your training. Like, where am I lying here on the amount of work that I did? Am I getting good pumps and things that I'm training? And that way you can understand if like I'm not pushing the intensity enough, or do I need to do more sets or more extra movements? But that basically concludes the lower body.
Well, let me also add something too, though. So it also depends on the where the person is, where they're comfortable with the volume, with their intensity and all that, because recovery is something that's super important too. We don't want to smash so hard that I'm feeling sore for more than 3 days. I think that's overdoing
That's going to
it.
be great. Like another thing to be asking yourself on the days that you're revisiting a specific body part is how recovered are you? So maybe today he feels like he's in that yellow zone, but now when we go to revisit, maybe in a couple days from now, legs again, and if your quads are still sore, we've probably done sufficient amount of volume on those previous days where we don't really need to revisit as much quads on that following day.
I would also say this, so that maybe if you would have just done one less set, you could be working legs again today, but you blew it and went too far, did too much. You're 4 days into recovery, 4 days past the in recovery, and you're still not recovered. You did too much.
That's kind of why we don't, and when we're looking at work capacity, you don't want to go into red, because usually if you're going into red, you're going to sacrifice a future training session. So finish lower body, we're going to start with the first movement of upper body, and we're just going to be doing one push movement. So we're going to give it all we've got on this set. It's incline dumbbells, and we're going to take advantage of the fact that they're dumbbells. We're not just going to stop right where the dumbbells hit your shoulders. You're going to widen up a little bit so that you can go beyond where a barbell would typically stop, really expanding the chest. It's all about that end range stretch. We're trying to hunt for the end range stretch. And we'll do that 3-second tempo way down, and 2 seconds where you were just expanding. 1, 2, big push. Easier looking, very juicy. 1, 2, big push. Nice. And look at how John is reaching for the stretch at the bottom. He's not just staying passive at the bottom, he's trying to reach and expand his chest as much as he can. Oh, nice. Good, good, reach, 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 reach. Nice. All right, that's a set. You're going for another one.
No.
Oh, that was it. Look, that was a work of art. At the end there, didn't just toss them. He went for that last extra negative, which is like really the sign of an elite lifter. He paid attention to not just the positive part of the movement, but that extra negative was the chef's kiss. Finished 3 sets of chest, and keep in mind, this is in conjunction to an entire week's worth of volume for chest. So maybe he could really done more. I mean, how did you feel the work capacity was for your chest right now?
For me, it's really low, but
so we're in a green for chest.
we're in a green for chest, absolutely.
Okay, cool. So could have done more, but this isn't really a chest-focused day. It's just a way of reducing some of the volume for your legs. So we did like kind of smash the legs, and then we're gonna do a little bit of pushing, a little bit of pulling. So it's green. What about the pump itself, though?
The pump was fantastic.
Fantastic pump. Okay,
Yeah.
great. So we're getting there, and that means it's at least in a yellow, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, cool. And pain?
0.
0 pain. That's amazing. That means we're ready to rock and roll. For the next up, we're gonna do some pulling.
Let's go. Ready.
So this is a pulling movement, not as super common, because you're usually either doing a vertical pull, or horizontal pull. And right here, we're kind of doing the in-between, where we're doing a little bit of a vertical pull, because it's kind of a 45-degree angle out and above him, instead of a horizontal pull, which would be like directly out in front of him. For those of you who haven't tried it, it's an amazing way to pull, so I definitely recommend it. Tempo is amazing here. So since it's a pulling movement, the stretch is gonna be out when he's extended. So over here, 1, 2, and then he's gonna pull and then let it out for 3. 1, 2, 3. Awesome. A thing to note about the way that John does his pulling, I mean, well, at least in this case, I've seen him do it other ways as well, but he's keeping a really quiet back here. So even when he's extending, he's not letting his torso come forward, which wouldn't inherently be wrong if you wanted to do that. But he really wants to focus on pulling with the lats first and foremost. And that's something that should be true regardless of exactly how you're letting your torso lean. It's good. All right, I think John's gonna show us something really cool, which is his straps. We were talking about straps before, and I think John's been lifting for a little bit now. I think he's coming up on 6 months worth of lifting. So he's picked up some few tricks. Couple of tips hanging around. And although he's been training for a lot, he doesn't underestimate that his back is going to be stronger than his grips. And if they're gonna be stronger than his grips, that means the limiting factor in him being able to do more reps is not gonna be his back, it will be his grip. So we can remove the grip out of the equation if we just use straps like this. I personally use the Versa straps, and I think John has some sort of knockoff version of them, but they'll do the trick. Still amazing tempo. Yeah, check those guys out. It lets all the weight sit on his wrists. And he just has to pull with his fingers, and that way you can really focus with pulling on his back. All right, John, so we just finished training. We did some quads. We did quads, hamstrings, then pushing, pulling. So the incline bench press, and then these kind of like 45-degree angled pull on the cables. What are your thoughts about it?
I really like the split. It's an interesting approach. The volume is rather low for me. I could definitely almost double that.
Okay.
Yeah, something I do want to mention though with the straps. The straps are great for, as you were mentioning, when your hands fatigue before your back. It's a great way to go. But the other thing that I really appreciate about straps is that it's easier for me to get the mind muscle connection. So instead of pulling the weight with my hand, I'm able to drive my elbows back and really focus on those muscles in the back to do the movement as opposed to using too much bicep.
Yeah. You want to focus the primary mover. Then let's just go to your thoughts on the overall volume. All right, so you mentioned that you probably could have doubled the volume. It's not to say for you guys, you usually want to, if we were this is basically the first time we're really like testing the waters with like volume and training together. So this is actually a good place to start. It's always better to be in a place where you're at the lower side, and then you can increase the intensity over time versus having to pull back because you've done too much. So always best to start your training blocks where you're more in the green area of our training. And we've been revisiting this analogy of green, yellow, and red levels of recovery. So start off in the green. Majority of your training definitely should be in the yellow. And then every once in a while, you're testing the waters and trying to really push and go into the reds. The only issue with long-term training when we're going to reds, it's going to come at the cost of a training session later on if you're constantly training in the reds.
Right, and the other thing too, with this particular split and the last workout that we did, the exercises have almost no relation to one another. One is not fatiguing the next at all. Even though the bench press is not, we do incorporate portions of our back, obviously, to help stabilize, to even move that weight in the first place. The same as with the chest is used to help stabilize when we're using the back, not very much, but they're definitely getting worked. Those splits are a great way, like you were saying, when you're kind of new and you're testing waters, because one is not going to add stress to the next.
Yeah, and you can approach the movement with as much energy, as much focus and force as you possibly can, instead of having a cumulative fatigue. If let's say we had done 5 different movements of quads, the last movement of quads would not look the same as the first movement of quads. But if we split up quads over 5 different days, just as an example, and we did like 1 movement every single day, we could keep like really good form, positioning on all of the sets and really maximize the output. So the output would be different if we did 1 movement 5 different days versus 1 day of 5 different movements, because you're going to get diminishing returns the more you're training your quads, just using that as the example.
Yeah.
Cool. So I liked it. I like training. I got to be the person who trained John a little bit more. That was cool.
Yeah, it was nice.
All right. Awesome.
Yeah,
man.
cool.
Good work.